Hello and welcome to my humble house of learning. Today I want to study the Knights Templar, the new civilization that just released, the Knights of the Cross rather than the Rose, basically. And in the build order that I want to showcase today, I want to focus on the Pilgrims mechanic, meaning I want to research Safe Passage and Sanctuary relatively early, but not as early as possible, in order to boost our economy first a little bit, especially our food economy, so that we don't have to worry so much about food, as we already have to worry about the safety of our pilgrims. In order to do that, we will age up with the Kingdom of France, but this build order will be flexible, and there is an opportunity to also, or to rather age up with the Knights Hospitaller in order to add a second TC very early on. I'll show how that works in a second. So let's go. Here we are in game. Our first 6 villagers will all go on sheep. One of them will build a house. You can always build that house right at the corner of the TC, as you can see here. If you're spawning on the top side, then that is potentially even better, because the house will kind of block the approaching angle of the opponent when they are, or should they be attacking you. But building it towards the wood line is also fine, because you don't have to build a lumber camp, so you're not blocking any space. Our scout is just gonna scout half the map and then return before 3 minutes to drop off all the sheep that we will need. But we won't need as many sheep in this build order, as we will be building some farms early on. The first villager coming out also goes to sheep. You can just rally them onto one of the sheep that isn't already slaughtered by the other villagers, so that you can split them out quite nicely. And then the next two go on gold, the first one building the gold mine, the second one being rallied directly to gold, so that they both start mining gold at almost exactly the same time. And from here, we don't rally on sheep, on food, like we would with most other civilizations, but rather we rally on wood. We don't need to build a lumber camp, as that is the special bonus of the Knights Templar. And so, because we don't need to do that, and because we don't need them to be very close to the lumber camp, we also want to split them out a little bit. Every time a villager comes out, you can just set your rally point to another tree, so that they don't all clump up around one tree. You don't have to do this, it's just a little efficiency thing. So, as you can see, our split now is 7-2-2, and the next villagers are all rallied onto the trees until we have 5 villagers on wood. This is going to be interesting, because we will still have a competitive age-up time, but we will be able to add farms early on to help us with safe food and sustain our food longer. At 2:30, you can drop off all your gold, and the villagers from gold you want to drop off at 3,899. Technically you want to drop off at 3,900, because that's when you have gathered exactly 100 gold, but sometimes with the way the decimal system works here, it's really weird, and you might end up with 1 gold less than you would want. So if you want to drop off, and you should, because the villagers need to move anyway, just make sure that you gather 1 more gold than you should, and then you will always be safe. These 2 villagers go to wood. If your gold is not close to the wood line, then you can just rally them, move them onto a strangler tree, and then onto the wood line later on. But if it's close to the wood line, then just have them head over to the wood line. We are aging up with the Kingdom of France in this case, because we want to play feudal aggression, and with a civilization like Knights Templar, who want to have map control because they want to protect their pilgrims moving out to the sacred sites, it makes a lot of sense to go with knights, because knights are the strongest unit in Feudal Age, and they are very easily complemented by archers, and because the Knights Templar are very good and efficient at gathering wood, making archers also is a very good idea. So that's the preferred composition that we want to go for, and so that is also why it makes a lot of sense to have 7 on wood this early. We can add exactly 2 farms with the villagers from food in this time during the age up. Now our scout is going to move out to the opponent's base, hitting the opponent's base at around 340, 350 to scout what the opponent is doing. And now things get a little complicated or a little difficult because we need to be able to research safe passage exactly as we age up. So this is the one time where you actually have to be very precise, because even with the gold, you don't need to be as precise as this. You know, you can wait a little bit and you will hear the age up time at 232 or 233, and then you still have 7 seconds to press the age up, because a villager will already be halfway done in queue at this time. So you don't have to be very precise. This is the only time you really need to be precise, which is when you have to hit safe passage right after the age up. This is how it looks, and then you can immediately queue up 2 more villagers. And then you will still be in time to age up with Sanctuary, which is the tier 2 upgrade after safe passage, in order for your next trip of the villagers to already be, of the pilgrims to already be 2 pilgrims. How that looks now, I'll show you in a second. So now our first pilgrim moves out at 355, and there's pretty much no way that any opponent will be able to stop them, except if it's Mongols or Ottomans maybe, with early spearmen. In that case, you will have to build order in a little different way, and you know, there might be a tower rush or something, and then you'd have to move villagers from food to gold anyway to age up faster, and then maybe you just choose not to go with the Sanctuary but build units first. That's always an option, but for this case we assume that we're not playing against these 2 Dark Age aggression builds, but rather a normal Feudal Age, fast Feudal Age from the opponent. Right at the time we are building our 2 villagers, before we want to research Sanctuary, we already have enough wood to build a stable. So we might as well just do that. We build a stable with 1 villager from wood. This stable we don't need to use immediately, because we want to make sure that we have Sanctuary in queue before we do anything else. This is the most important, because our Sanctuary will be done in 10 seconds, and as will our new Pilgrim spawn. So this is 100% exact. If you are afraid that you might not hit this timing perfectly, you can also skip 1 villager. So you, after safe passage, you only queue 1 villager, then you queue Sanctuary, and then you queue the rest of the villagers. This will hurt you in the long run because 1 villager will come out later, but it will make sure that you are safer here, and pilgrims are more valuable than villagers, so it might make sense to do that if you feel like you might not hit the timing, or if you have been delayed because you queued up villagers very late early on. Now we can make a horseman, and we will obviously use our knight replacement, or feudal knight replacement, once the first pilgrim hits the sacred site. Just now, and so now we can queue up chevaliers. And we add an archery range and a house right after. And so now our first horseman and all the units coming out now, all the archers and horsemen, can safeguard our next pilgrims. And that is the basic idea here. We will add a stable, then a house, an archery range, and a blacksmith, all with the same villager that came from the woodland. We rallied onto wood for 9 villagers, and then we just rally onto food. This villager can then build a mill, so that we can also use our gold that we're getting from the pilgrims to get some upgrades. Mainly, we will use the gold though for our knights. On the wood line, we can already always build houses because there's space opening up, and we don't need to build lumber camps, so there's always space here. And we want to end up with 14 villagers on food. Then we want to rally 14 onto wood, and from there we can then decide what we want to do, if we want to age up to Castle Age, or if we want to all in Feudal Age, build more farms, or go out on deer. That is up to us. I think horticulture is a good idea because you will be on sheep and farms. Early on, you might also want to go on to deer if you feel safe enough, and then you can get survival techniques before you get horticulture. You don't need to get any wood upgrades, obviously, because you don't have a lumber camp, and you could just get them automatically with a civilization. Another reason why it is very efficient to be on wood very early on. You also get food from it, obviously. And because you get the wood this easily, you don't need wheelbarrow this early, because your villagers are not moving a lot, and wheelbarrow is most efficient on the wood line. And so you can not skip it, because eventually you will want it, especially if you're moving out. But yeah, for now you can skip it, and you can use the gold for blacksmith upgrades, for your knights, and for survival techniques and horticulture. And this way, as you can see, you can have quite a good army, as well as an upgraded army early on to protect your pilgrims. So now we're at 14 and 14 by 9 minutes. And from here we can decide what we want to do. We have a good army that is already upgraded, almost done with the second upgrade. We can take a fight here, protect our pilgrims, and then feudal all in by getting siege engineering, for instance, and just rally onto wood. Or we can choose to take some off of wood, move them on gold, rally to food, and age up. Alternatively, you can use the exact same Dark Age build order, as we can see here, to instead play a very fast 2TC style. As you can see, we're doing the exact same thing. We start with 7 on food, then 2 to gold, and then 5 to wood. But now we age up with the Knights Hospitaller. This is because not only do they give us health on our civilian units, but they also increase healing, and they give us a healing unit, which all of those things are nice when you're defensive and you're playing 2DC, where you have more civilian units because you have more villagers, obviously. But maybe you saw it already. Instead of going from the gold vein to the trees right at the age up, we instead built a mining camp with those 2 villages, and then we move 3 of our 7 villagers from food, from the sheep, also onto stone, so that we end up with 5 on stone, 4 on food, and also 5 on wood. And after the age up, we do the same thing again. We immediately queue up safe passage and 2 villagers. But in this case, we will skip on both the farms, even though we could obviously make them now, but we want to save our wood for the second TC. And we will also save on Sanctuary for now, because we won't be able to defend our pilgrims as much, and so it doesn't make that much sense to invest into this upgrade that is, you know, not too expensive, but also not cheap. So we're rallying to wood. On 7 now, and at 850 here, we can move our 5 villagers off of stone, and a little bit later the wood will come in, and we will be able to place our second TC at around 450. And then we can move, we probably want to build it on woodline. Here is a good place, I think, because it's on gold and wood. We could have also chosen to go a little bit further down to also secure even more of the food, but I felt like this was a good place because it's safe enough, it's securing enough of the food. And you have 2 rows of farms in between. So we built this TC with 10. You could also do it with 11 or 12 if you wanted to, but I think 8 to 10 is pretty efficient. And now at roughly 5:30 to 5:35, your next TC is done. And you can immediately produce from it. From here, it depends on how aggressive your opponent is. If your opponent is already denying you pilgrims, you might want to send maybe 2 workers on gold. But if not, you can just send everyone to food and wood. You probably want to end up with like 16 on food and then 10 or 12 on wood, and then you want to build barracks and archery ranges, and you can make your special unit as well as archers, hospital, right, and the archers in order to defend yourself. So if you remacro now and send like 6 or 7 onto food, it'll be exactly fine. And then you rally on to wood and, you know, gold if needed. I hope you learned something today, and if you did, I am a Conqueror player and professional coach in real life, so should you be interested in personalized AoE 4 coaching, tailored to your specific needs, let me know on Discord and I'd be happy to help. Also, you can always ask follow-up questions or give feedback in the comment section below, and leave a like if you want to help more people to find this video. Thank you very much for watching, and class dismissed.